Batman and Robin issue 1, Joshua Williamson writing with Simone Di Meo on the art. Yeah, it's a Joshua Williamson book. That's my my opening salvo.
Warts and all. All right, so I'm gonna take this as a different direction. I wasn't a big fan of the art in this. It felt,
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's like it's not bad art. I don't know if I was reading it later in the night when I was already tired, but I was having a hard time making sense of the direction of the art at times. And again, this might just be me, but it's the art seems very kinetic, and like usually I'm fond of that, but this was just like it was a lot. Like I felt like there was a lot going on in the art, and it was hard for me to focus on any one thing.
I mean, I kind of get that last part to an extent, but I don't think it ever really bothered me. I will say I really like the coloring. I think that was
coloring's a bright spot.
Yeah, that was really on point.
It's moody.
I think what was sticking out to me was how smiley Batman and Robin were. Like they reference what's going on in Batman right now. They say, "Hey, given what's going on with the rest of the family right now in Catwoman, it's good that we're sticking together," which does line up with that book because Robin, Damien's the one who stuck by his side. But the way they're kind of fist pumping and smiling doesn't feel in tone with what's going on. Like it feels like really like in the other book, as much as it's not, I don't think it's very good. Like the right attitude to take with it is that this is really sad and depressing that we're fighting the rest of the family. But here they're like, nah, but father and son stick together. Give me a high five, young lads.
Just guys being dudes.
Yeah, it's weird. Also, the consistency right now of how old people are drawing Damien is all over the place.
He's either 11 or 23. Like
there's no in between.
No, like it is. They used to do that with John too, right? But it was more towards the other end. He either 6 or he was 14. But so at least they keep those together. But as for the story, there's pieces of it that I got excited for. I'm always excited to see Killer Croc, right? Because I think he's kind of an underrated Batman villain when used properly. And so here, when he shows up with all of these other animal-themed villains, I was like, okay, cool. What's going on here?
Yeah, so stop skipping ahead though, because I don't remember any of this, and I've not gotten there yet.
You don't?
Well,
that's what I remember the most.
No, what I remember the most from this book, which I read yesterday, is that Bruce is trying to get Damien to go to high school, and Damien is like, what's my mission? Like, what am I trying to uncover? And he's like, nothing. You're Damian Wayne. You're going to high school. And because all that stuff where you were on an island and you had people your own age to interact with, that actually seemed quite healthy for you. You should go to school and have friends and socialize and not be a little turd, right? Yeah. That's the plan.
So you forgot about the late part of the book. I forgot about the early part of the book. Yeah. So you put us together and,
Well, that's because I think the late part of the book is the inconsequential part for the most. Like, that's just the generic comic action. The actual advancing of the Bruce and Damien relationship and the idea that we might actually have Damien now going into high school and actually progressing him forward as a character is the more interesting part to me. I also kind of like there's a scene here where Bruce gets up and Damien's like making breakfast and he's making tea, and it's this idea that he's actually learned a lot from Alfred that Bruce never learned. I actually thought that was kind of a sweet idea, is that Damien is doing things in a way that Alfred used to do, and it's it's like, oh, he's learned from him in a way that Bruce never bothered to do. So I don't know, I thought that was a nice idea. It is what it is. But once you get to Killer Croc and his gang of animal themed villains,
Killer Croc and the Zoo Crew,
which is the terrible trio there, although the little twist here is that they're not wearing masks. They actually have those real animal heads.
Well, they have the animal head masks on, and then Damien goes to pull off their mask and be like, you're just a guy in a mask, and the fox is actually a fox.
Yes.
So that was a fun surprise.
Although I will say this, I don't like, it was going to happen eventually, but like I feel like we did a lot of good things between a few different books of like kind of building up Man-Bat as more of like an anti-hero, and This always happens whenever we do. It was the same thing with Clayface after that great detective run with Tynan, where eventually someone just decided they wanted Clayface to be a simple villain again, and never even like referenced the fact that he had all these redemption things going on. It's the same here with Man-Bat. Man-Bat had that miniseries. He was, I can't remember what the other book was. He obviously was in Justice League Dark, but all these things built up Man-Bat to be, he's progressing. He's got it under
complex
control.
Character.
Yeah. We were using this to talk about someone with anger issues or even like an addiction, and we're using it as an allegory. And here he's just, he's a monster again. He's chasing after Batman and Robin. He's trying to rip off their heads. With no. I think like Hulk, there is room for like Savage Man-Bat, right? But the story has to be there, and you can't just have him be, this animalistic version again after we had like Combo Kirk, right? It just reeks of Williamson either doesn't know that they did all this with Man-Bat, or he just doesn't care. Yeah.
Man-Bat's one of those characters too that we could just have multiple people with. I mean, it is a serum, right? Like
technically, yeah.
Right. I mean, we had Ninja Man-Bats under Morrison for a hot second. So
it just made me a little bit sad because it felt like we were just throwing away any character development we had, and it wasn't that long ago. But it feels like if you tell a story with a character like Man-Bat or Clayface, and then you go 6 months we're not seeing them, some writer will just put them in as like a generic villain again without even thinking about it, and it's just okay. They're just back to being this now with no. No regression storyline, nothing that makes them snap and like turn. Which, don't get me wrong, if they kept doing that every time, it would be equally repetitive. But at least there'd be something to transition to it.
There was a book that was out that I got behind on. That was the Gotham City monster characters, and it was Killer Croc and Man-Bat. Does that ring any bells?
Are you talking about the one with Jason, where it was like the zombie? Like Suicide Squad?
No, that was Task Force Z. There was another one, and I only remember reading the first issue, but it was Killer Croc, Man-Bat. I'm trying to think who else was in there.
I vaguely remember. I think that was that. I don't think that was after Task Force Z though, was it?
No, it might have been before.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't. It's not coming up on League of Comic Geeks.
Yeah.
So, but this was giving me those kind of vibes. Like Croc has this like team of misfits, and
I just like I get that we can't have all of 80 years of Batman continuity always be upheld, right? Eventually there has to be like cut-offs where you accept that we're in kind of a new era that's kind of going to forget what it wants to. But all this character progression for Man-Bat, and then same with Clayface a few years ago, like. It got reverted with no fanfare like so quickly that it's like you're not rewarding the people who are actually paying attention and reading your books. It's frustrating. So they have a big fight scene, and the art is good here. I think the faces of the artist, I will say, are a little anime at times, but I think when it comes to the action, it's pretty solid, and I do think the animal heads on the villains do look quite good. Like the fox head looks really good. So that's all fine. And then the cliffhanger is just Batman. Basically, yeah. So one of the villains tags Batman with something, and a swarm of bats all come towards Batman. So the cliffhanger is all these bats attacking Batman, and that's the cliffhanger for next issue. So I don't know. As always with Williamson, I'm kind of mixed. Like I like some of the ideas. I think the actual like comic booky action stuff towards the end just feels it looks good, but it's pretty. There's not really much context for it to make it anything more than just a random action scene. So not really feeling that. I do think the art overall is a net positive. I do think it looks quite good, and I do think the colors are really strong, and I think the action tends to look quite good. The faces I wouldn't say are bad. Sometimes I complain about faces looking a bit flat or whatever. That's not the case here. They're just a little anime for my taste, so I wouldn't say they're objectively bad. It's just more my thing, and I think that's partly why Damian looks really young in this book at times. So that's I don't know. Oh, what else do you feel about it?
I mean, just it's fine. I just the art kind of took me out just because it was very kinetic, and I was, again, probably just me though. I probably shouldn't read it late at night, where I'm having a hard time paying attention to things. But I don't know, the art, it didn't always hit with me, but I think that just comes down to personal taste. Because there's nothing wrong with it. The breakdowns are fine. It's just some of the more fine tuning and, kind of maybe it was lettering too, of me not, chasing where the conversation was going and looking all over the page. So, but it's fine. There's nothing like egregiously wrong with it. I'm curious to see where it goes. So at least there's that,
Yeah, I guess I'm curious too. I swear I'm burdened to just keep reading like 6 and 7s out of 10s from Williamson.
Yeah, right?
I know Bat. I mean, there's lots of good Bat books. I'm never burdened by all those Bat books I need to read because most of them are quite good.
No, but like some of them, like you're saying though, that's a lot of 6s and 7s.
Oh, actually, Zarsky's not doing so hot right now either. To be fair, but
yeah.
Hey, but Ram V's doing stuff though. Both Ram V and Hart is knocking it out of the park.
By the way, that Gotham City Monsters book was called Gotham City Monsters, and it was Steve Orlando. So funnily enough, when
that must have been ages ago.
2019. So
that's 4 years ago, man.
Bro, I thought 2019 was last year. Let's show you where my brain went.
I'm pretty sure that's before any of these Man-Bat stories I was referencing where he has redemption.
And I don't even think Man-Bat was in there. He might have been, but apparently there's Killer Croc and Frankenstein and Clarion. That's who's on the cover. So,
all right. Well,
yeah.
What are you rating Batman and Robin issue 1?
I'll give this a 7 out of 10.
I'll go 6.5. I'm not convinced yet. I like the idea of Damien going to high school, though. Hopefully they can do some stuff with that. That would be nice.